Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of the Saturdays Are for the Byzantines podcast. My name is Professor Wren and I am your host. And today I wanted to do something a little bit different. As the year has ended, today I'm recording this on New Year's Day, a little late on New Year's Day here. A lot of people I've seen online on New Year's at the end of the year, they'll post like books I've read this year and the the favorite books that someone's read during the year. So I thought that I would take this chance to go over with you guys some of the books that we've gone through over the course of the series so far, because we've been doing this for a little over a year now. It started last year, I think it was December. I want to say December 6th. I was checking the YouTube channel the other day. We've also passed 12,000 channel views, which is fun. Total views, like, for all the videos that we've put up for YouTube. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so I have a stack of books here that we've gone through, or at least touched this year. And then there are also going to be some books that we have gone through, but I don't have with me, because during the move I had over the summer, they kind of they're not lost. The Tread Gold books, the Tread Gold text is lost, but the St. John Damascus that we used is just in my parents' house. But anyway, so let's jump right into this. We'll just go through in order of books from the smallest in my pile to the biggest here in the pile. So the first one we have is St. Augustine's City of God, that we used when we did our St. Augustine short little episode there, where which tied in nicely with the events that were going on in Rome during the 5th century, the 410 sack and the 455 sack, which Augustine was writing City of God here about the 410 sack of Rome, among many other things that he had. We really only did a brief cursory look into Augustine's City of God here. But so this was translated by Gerald Walsh, Society of Jesus. So yeah, that means he's a Jesuit priest. Demetrius Sema, who is also a Jesuit. Grace Monahan, it just says OSU. I'm guessing that means like probably Ohio State University or Oklahoma State University. And then Daniel Honan. This is a pretty old copy. I think this was actually, no, I bought this used in college when we read St. Augustine in college, but definitely recommend this. I think the St. Augustine video has over 1,000 views on the YouTube channel, which is cool. So that was a good one for you. Definitely recommend. Next here in our little book stack here, we have the Alexiad by Anna Komnene. This was translated, let's see, who did the translation on this? E.R.A. Suter. So yes, translated by E.R.A. Suter. This is the Penguin Classic edition of the Alexiad. This is where Anna Komnene, we covered this recently. It is the primary source for the reign of Alexius Comnenus, who is the first of the Comnenid dynasty, which we actually recently finished covering here on the podcast. We recently finished covering the Comnenid dynasty, which started with Alexius, then went on to John, and then to Manuel. And Anna was actually banished and sent to live in a convent, essentially, when she conspired against her brother John, and the conspiracy was figured out, and so that was her punishment. And it was during her exile when she wrote the Alexiad, which is an account of her father's writing. This is definitely a good one. She's an excellent writer. Definitely can be a firebrand sometimes, which is fun to read. A lot of the the medieval insults that people would throw at each other, and it's the great historical work of that time period. So definitely recommend that one as well. Next up on the list, we have the very thicker is always better, Wars of Justinian by Procopius. This is translated by H.B. Dewing. and was modernized and revised by Anthony Caldelis. I believe he was from Ohio State. And so this is the account. Procopius was a courtier in the court of Justinian. He was good friends with Belisarius, who led the wars of Justinian. Belisarius, if you guys remember, was the general who led the Byzantine armies in the reconquest of the West, which was more than fairly quite successful. Didn't reconquer the entire West, but took a good portion of it. Some of the most important areas as well. And so Procopius, I believe he actually got his start as like Belisarius's lawyer. I think is how the two were linked up together. And so this is because they're buddies. Procopius went on what was with the armies with Belisarius as he went on his campaigns of the reconquest. And so this was a really good, Belisarius is a really good writer. Sorry, not Procopius is a very good writer. It's not difficult to read. I will say you can get easily bogged down in some, because there's a lot of details about like minor battles and conflicts in this that are fun to read, but especially, for me, when a lot of times I'm trying to write a lecture in a week from like Monday to Friday. And there's hundreds of pages to get through in here. And so a lot of the details about like smaller battles and skirmishes are fun to read for sure. But you also need to make sure, at least for me, that you're hitting the main points, the major topics that you're trying to get through. But this, it's not quite that long. Well, let's see, the text itself is 544 pages before you get to the appendix and the glossary and all of that. So, I mean, not short, not something most people are going to read in an afternoon, but not quite as bad as you might think it is for such a big historical text. And this, like the Alexiad with Anna Comnenus, how that was the great historical work of her time, Procopius is the great historian of his time. He's the great historian of the era of Justinian. No one holds a candle to him except for his scandalous secret history, which I will always criticize him for, because he slanders the Empress Theodora, which I do not appreciate. And then last one I have here in the pile that I have with me is The Fall of the Roman Empire, A New History of Rome and the Barbarians by Peter Heather. He's an English historian of late Rome, fall of Rome. And I have to say, out of all the books that we have covered during the course of this podcast, this is the one I've enjoyed the most. Heather provides really, really good historical analysis, background, references to like archaeological evidence to help support his claims and all that. Just tons of detail, very readable. It is long. This is the thickest book that I have in the stack here, and as I say, thicker is always better. Let's see how many pages it is before you get to the notes. The text is a little small in this. It's going to be less pages than Procopius, but the text is a little smaller. Let's see. It's 459 pages, but worth reading every page. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really came to agree with Heather's analysis of why Rome falls, as opposed to the analysis of, say, Michael Kulikowski, who I believe is now at Penn State, actually, here in Pennsylvania, my state where I live. But this one, if you're interested in fall of Rome, barbarian invasion, the Great Migration time period, I don't think there's a better book that you can get for that time period than this one right here. Really, I mean, it's a long book, as you can see, thick book, lots of pages, but really had no trouble getting through it. And then a couple other books that I want to mention here, which is, again, I don't have physical copies with me because they're either at my parents' house or I've lost them. So the Treadgold text, it's kind of interesting. My dad is teaching Byzantine history in this coming spring semester. He had off this, he was on sabbatical this semester, and he was, when I was home over the Christmas break, he had mentioned how he wasn't actually that thrilled with the Treadgold text. He's using it for his class, and he says he's not actually that impressed with it. He thinks it could be better. I do like the text just because it is, I mean, concise. It is definitely concise. There, but the other thing is there's not a lot of detail to it, so I can understand why maybe he doesn't love it. And it is, I will say, it's not the best written book. Even though it's short, it can feel like it's taking longer to read than it should. Perhaps maybe Treadgold, not the best writer. Although who am I to criticize? You know, I don't have any books out myself yet. Although, you know, it would be fun someday if this channel gets to the point where it's big enough that a publisher would pick up something that I would write. I'd definitely be interested in taking on a book project someday. Just need someone to, you know, pick up the manuscript. And then finally, the 3 treatises on the divine images by St. John Damascus. That book I believe is on my dad's dresser. But I think the video on St. John Damascus also has, if not 1,000 views, it's close to 1,000 views on the channel right now, which is cool. And I really like the writing of St. John Damascus. I definitely agree with him on his analysis of the religious images. I think he comes at it in a very interesting way. I think his case is very compelling. So if you are interested in reading something, if you've heard, like, I know a lot of Protestants are not fond of religious images, I would say if you want to read the best defense of religious images, I'd say definitely check out St. John Damascus's 3 treatises on the divine images. And I believe those are the major books that we've covered here on the program. There may have been others, and I'm not forgetting, and I'm not remembering, or, you know, I just mentioned them briefly in passing. But I have, even though, you know, I was critical of the Treadgold text, it's still a good book. It's still a good text. And if I was teaching a class on this, I would still use it as my primary text, and then use these other books here as supplemental readings. So feel free to leave in the comment section if you guys have book recommendations, either in the time period that we're talking about or otherwise. You know, I just finished reading Pinocchio. I'm thinking about doing a review of the original Pinocchio book on the channel, just for fun, because, you know, it's good to branch out and you know, be able to provide content for in other areas to try to attract a wider audience. So if you've made it this far in the video, please make sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and hit the notification bell so that you never miss another video. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and I think we're on Google Play as well, I'd have to double check. But please make sure to give us a follow on there. And if, especially with Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review. That really helps us out. So that's all I have for you guys today, and I'll see y'all next time.